Hello, everyone. Welcome to True Health Tuesday. I am so glad to be with you one more time. Please let me know if the audio is working well. And if there's any issues, please let me know just to make sure that everything is okay. So, welcome once again to True Health Tuesday. I'm so happy to be with you one more time. And today we're going to have a special topic, how to lose weight without losing your health, or eat more, weight less, lose weight. Because it's so common nowadays. As I've told you before, people go on these crazy diets sometimes, and I worry about people who go on these diets. So I've seen it a lot, at work, or just, people that I know, and just they tell me oh, I'm doing this or that, and I just worry sometimes. So I like to, talk a little bit with you about that. I think God has a plan. God has a plan too for us to be healthy, and that includes, to have a normal weight, or to have a weight that is healthy. And it's not necessarily about aesthetics, if you know what I mean. It's more about health. God wants us to be healthy. So that's what it's more about, okay? But we're going to start with prayer, as always, okay? So let's start with a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for all the blessings you always give us. And thank you for all the beautiful things like the rain we have here in California. It's been quite a lot, but we needed it. So thank you for everything you give us. Thank you for the technology that allows us to connect. And we ask you to bless this presentation. I ask you to bless everyone who is connecting tonight, everyone who will watch this presentation later, and that everything that is said is for your honor and glory. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. All right. So again, let me know if the audio has any issues. So hopefully not. But today, as I said, we're going to talk about how to be healthy without losing your weight. All right. Without losing your health. Because people like to, go on diets, and or anything, honestly, a lot of weight loss methods, and sometimes they could be quite effective. I have to be honest, they could be quite effective. There's a lot of ways to lose weight that work really fast, if you ask me. They're quite effective. In fact, this is what happens, okay? People lose weight quite rapidly sometimes, and then they feel great. And you can hear me. Thank you so much for letting me know. Thank you. Wonderful. All right. So this is what happens. And you tell me if you agree with me or not. Okay. This is what happens. People lose weight, diet X, whatever diet. Okay. Or method. Okay. So they lose weight and then they feel great. I mean, let's say 2 or 3 weeks, they start losing weight. They feel good. They look at themselves in the mirror. And that's like a good feedback. And so they continue, and then of course they think, okay, well, this is wonderful, it works, so it must be the right thing to do. And they continue on, and then they tell their friends about it, and their friends also think, well, must be the right diet to do, and then it becomes extremely popular. And so it's the fad diet of the moment, and everybody wants to do it. And of course, if you look at your scale and it's giving you a good number, it must be the right diet then. And let me tell you what, also, sometimes it even gives you a good glucose number, for instance. So you must think, okay, well, this is the perfect diet. Not only do I lose weight, it lowered my glucose. But what about 6 months down the road? What about a year down the road? What about 2 years? What about 5 years down the road? Have they told you, the studies? Have there been any studies even? Has anyone studied this particular diet 5 years down the road? What are the side effects? What are the, complications? maybe the person who wrote the book or who's making those videos on YouTube or whatever, they probably haven't told you anything about those side effects or potential complications of this method or diet down the road, 5 years, 10 years. And that's very unfortunate, because I think a lot of the diets become really popular because they're very effective short term. And it is true. And so I'm just going to say it. The keto diet, for instance, is extremely effective short term. People lose weight. Yes, absolutely, they lose weight. Do their glucose numbers become better? Yes. A1C, the glucose, that average number for 3 months, does it get better? Yes, absolutely. Your numbers will shine. They will be wonderful. So people go, well, this must be the right diet because I'm getting better. I'm losing weight. My A1C or my fasting glucose looks amazing. So it must be the perfect diet. But what they might not know is that, and I think I've told you this before, especially in the diabetes series, we did a 4-part series on diabetes. So if you haven't watched it and you're interested, you can go to my website. That's probably the easiest way to find it. You can go to my website, healthfortoday.net. And I have a section above that says presentations. And if you click there, you'll find the presentations that I'm doing here, True Health Tuesday. So that made it easier for you to find. And there's a 4-part series on diabetes. And I talk about this specific thing there as well. And so this is what happens when you eat a high-fat diet. High-protein diet tends to be a high-fat diet as well. So yes, your numbers are going to drop really fast. But unfortunately, when we consume a high-fat diet, a high-protein diet, especially animal protein diet, you're not realizing potentially that you are becoming more and more and more insulin resistant. You might not realize it because you're not consuming a high carb diet. So as long as you don't eat any carbs, it's not going to be reflected in your blood sugar because you're not eating any carbs. So yes, you're going to check your blood sugar. You might even have a continuous monitor, glucose monitor. So yes, your blood sugars are going to look perfect, wonderful. But with time, you're becoming more and more glucose insensitive to the point that, let's say, most people who go on a keto diet, they have a very hard time keeping that keto diet long term because our bodies are really not made for that. We're not made to eat low carb. Our bodies are really made to use carbohydrates as the main fuel. So most people have intense cravings for carbs 6 months, a year after they're following this diet. So eventually they have maybe a piece of bread, they really crave some pasta or something. And so when they eat this, all of a sudden their blood sugar just shoots, they skyrocket. And they're like, oh no, now it's even worse than before the diet. Why is that? Because now they're more glucose intolerant. Now they're more insulin resistant than before they started the diet because they've been on a high-fat diet for this whole time. So I made a video about this in Spanish in my Spanish channel, and I titled the video, Why the Keto Diet is the Worst Diet for Diabetics. And it's the one video with the most thumbs down. People hate that video. All the people who love the keto diet hate that video. Understandably so. I understand. But I used all the science. I put all the, you know how I am. I put all the science to demonstrate that this wasn't just my opinion. It's backed with, studies, good research. And it is what it is. People can agree to disagree. They don't use kind words sometimes to disagree with me, but I'm just showing what it is. Okay, so I want to let you know about that because I want you to have good health. So there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of ways to lose weight. You can go on a carnivore diet. I always say this used to be a fringe diet. 20 years ago, 15 years ago, you said carnivore, people are going, yeah, okay, well, only the weird people go on that diet. Okay, nobody goes on that diet, only if you're like extreme. Only extreme people go on that diet. Now that's like mainstream. All kinds of people are going on carnivore diet. But think about it. You're eating nothing but meat. You're not even having fruit or vegetables. Is that extreme? What do you think? If you think it's extreme, please put it in the chat. If you agree with me that it's extreme, I don't know. All right. Well, as I always say, this is not meant to be any type of medical treatment or advice, okay? This is just educational, as I always say. I didn't put it on a slide today. I was in a hurry because I had visitors today, so I didn't really have time to put all my disclaimers in this presentation. But I'm going to say it verbally, okay? It's not meant to be treatment or medical advice, what I'm going to say today, but it is meant to be educational. All right. But what I want to say today is that we do see a lot of, somebody said yes, and I hope that means yes, I agree. All right. Thank you so much for that. So people come in all shapes and sizes, as you know. And so I'm just going to say that there is a movement of, like, say, positivity, like body positivity. And I don't disagree with this, that people should not be discriminated because of body size. Somebody else said yes. Okay, thank you for that. Thank you. I think you know what I mean when I say that. So thank you so much. Okay, when in regards to this, people being discriminated because of obesity, I am absolutely against that. So I agree in that sense that people should not be discriminated because of their body size. But at the same time, we have to be really careful with simply giving up on trying to be healthier. And I think a lot of people who are in this sort of body positivity encouraging obesity, I think they also need to consider the fact that obesity is in and of itself a huge health risk for a huge health or a huge risk for health. And it puts you at a higher risk for many, many conditions. So I think we have to be balanced, with that as well. So I don't disagree with the fact that we need to, be also accepting and not be discriminating. But at the same time, we need to also be mindful of all the different parts of the body, of all the systems of the body that are affected by extreme weight or obesity, and even overweight. So our bodies are not meant to carry a lot of weight, a lot of extreme overweight either. So it does put us at a health risk. So it's not necessarily about being discriminating. It's just that we want people to know the risks that we are under when we carry extreme amounts of weight, or even a little bit of overweight, honestly. Just a little bit of overweight can put us already at a high risk for high blood pressure, for instance. And high blood pressure is one of the potential risk factors for both heart disease and strokes. And those are like one of the major causes of mortality in not only this country, but the world. So it's not about aesthetics, how I look in front of the mirror. It's not about discrimination either. It's about health. And also for us who are believers, and I invite you to think about this, okay? So this is just for thinking right now. It's also about considering our bodies, and tell me if you agree with me, considering our bodies as a temple, treating our body as a temple. So when we take care of our bodies as a temple, then, we're potentially, hopefully, not abusing our bodies too much. And I think that will naturally lead us to a healthier weight. And maybe that should be the focus, as opposed to focusing on losing the weight only. You know what I mean? So when we focus on treating our body as a temple and not necessarily focus only on weight loss, I think the weight will come off in a more natural way and not in an obsessive way, if you know what I mean. Hopefully that I'm transmitting that idea in a healthy way. Okay. And hopefully I'm transmitting that idea and you're getting it. So put it in the chat if you know what I mean. All right. I want to show you some maps, and these are from the CDC. I've been using them for years, but it just kind of gives you an idea of the transformation, metamorphosis, if you will, of just the United States. This has happened all over the world, actually. But since most of us, I think a good chunk of us that you're watching tonight are in the United States. But if you're not, then let me just tell you that this is a reflection of what's happening in the whole world. So what you're going to see here in these maps is a reflection of what's happening everywhere. So this is just an example. You're welcome. All right. So let me show you. This is the map of obesity in 1985, 41 years ago. And you can see at the bottom the percentages, okay? You're very welcome. Oh, yes. Okay. So thank you for teaching us this wonderful message. Please, I would like to contact you about the American Lifestyle Medicine. I am a member of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. I would like to enroll, and I am becoming a medical missionary. Oh, that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. So yes, go ahead and send me a message through my website, Health for Today. No, oh geez, I'm forgetting my own website. Healthfortoday.net. Okay, too many things in my mind right now. Healthfortoday.net. That's where you should go, and then go to contact, and I'll be getting your message through there. So that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Absolutely. All right, look at this map right now. I'm going to be going through the maps really quick so that you can see the transformation, because the colors indicate the percentage of people in those states that have overweight or obesity, actually, obesity in particular, obesity. Okay, so what you see is the darker colors indicate more obesity. So the darker blue is 10 to 14%, and the lighter blue is less than 10%, okay? So that's what you're going to see. So that's 1985. Okay, 1986, 1987. Do you see the darker blue? More darker blue? 1988, 1989, 1990. You see much more darker and less the white, right? Less of white, lots like the darker blue is getting everywhere. This is 1990. Okay, 1991. We see a new color. Do you see it? New color. It's a new category now. 1991, there's a new category. The darker blue, 15 to 19% of the population in those states with the darker blue have between 15 to 19%. So a new category was created in 1991. Okay, 91, 92, 93. You see the darker blue just... Do you see what color disappeared? Light blue disappeared. There's no more states with less than 10%. Light blue is gone. Okay, so only like the medium blue now, which used to be the darker blue, and the dark blue, like navy blue. All right, 93, 90, come on now, 94. It's all dark blue and medium blue and dark blue. 95, 96, 97. New color. A new color just showed up. 97. like a yellowish color, new category. More than 20% of these three states have more than 20%. 1997, a new category showed up. More than 20% of these people in these states have obesity. 1997. Okay, 1998, 1999. Whoa, look at that yellow. Exploding all of a sudden. Year 2000, 2001. Do you see? New color. A dark orange showed up for the first time, 2001. A new state, a new category, more than 25% for the first time, 2001. 2002, 2003. See the darker orange now starting to spread? 2004. The dark blue is disappearing. That was like the top number now, and now it's disappearing. 2005, new color again. A darker, like a dark red now, is the new category, more than 30%. More than 30%, 2005. See what's going on here? 2006, 2007, 2008. Soon there's going to be a change because they changed the whole methodology of how they actually collect the data, okay? So there's going to be a break here. 2009, look at all the dark red now. Look at all the states that have more than 30%. 2010. See what's happening? Okay, this is where they changed the methodology. So they changed all the callers. So now instead of people calling on their landline, because guess what? People don't have landlines anymore. So now they're calling people on their cell phones. So now the whole thing changed because younger people have cell phones. So now everything changed. So the people who are answering the phone are younger. Everything had to change. That's why they changed the colors. So now that we have new colors, new categories, blah, blah, blah. So everything's a little bit different now. But we have new numbers, new everything. So 2011, 2012, but generally the darker colors are still higher numbers. And 2013, and now again, we see darker colors showing up. 2014, 2015. See what's going on? Same thing. So new trends, or new maps, but the trends are still the same. 2006, 17, 18. They're still happening. What year is this? 2020, 21, 22. And you know what? I don't know what's happening at the CDC. Okay, these numbers are from the CDC. It used to be really easy to get these maps. Last year I had gotten them was 2022, and I hadn't been to the CDC website where I could get these maps in 2 years. And I went there and I couldn't find the 2023 map. It's really hard to find these maps now for some reason. I don't know what happened. I don't know who's in charge there anymore, but the maps are really hard to get. It's not easy to navigate that website. I don't know what happened. But for some reason, I couldn't find the 2023 map. And but I was able to find the 2024 map, and it's all weird now. It doesn't really make sense. I'm not sure who's keeping track of things over there anymore. So anyway, I think up until 2022, the data was really making a lot of sense. Now it kind of was strange, so I don't know what happened. But you were able to see what was going up at least until 2022. The data was, you saw what the trend was pretty clearly. Now, I really want to show you also what maybe could be behind those numbers? Maybe. Look at the trend for food. But interestingly, you would have thought, well, maybe a lot of people are eating a lot more ice cream. And this map or this graph starts in 1970. And 1970 is really when obesity started really going up a lot. But look at ice cream, kind of stayed the same. Yogurt started going up a little bit. Low-fat ice cream stayed the same. So it's not the low-fat craze. From 1970 to 2010 stayed the same. But what went up a lot? What went up a lot? In the dairy, at least. Do you know? Do you see? What's that blue line? Whoa. Do you know why? There's some people who talk about this a lot. They've written books about it and stuff that I follow. And they talk about how there's a lot of extra production of this product, and they have to like put it in everything practically. And that's why you see like the pizzas with cheese on top and then in the middle and just about everywhere. And they just have to, it almost seems like they're getting rid of it and they're just dumping it on the junk food that we eat. And so look at this consumption of cheese. It's just skyrocketed in the last 50 some years. And the thing about cheese is, if you think about it, they need about 10 quarts of milk to make like a pound of cheese or half a pound of cheese. And so there's this concentration of calories when we consume cheese. And cheese is extremely high. It's higher in saturated fat than red meat per weight anyway. So, yep, somebody saw that. Thank you. It's cheese. Cheese is higher in saturated fat per weight than red meat. So if you think about that, now we usually tend to eat smaller pieces, but maybe throughout the day, a lot of people eat a lot of it. So we have to be mindful of those things. Okay, next one, I want you to notice. This starts a lot earlier in history. Look at those years. Wow. Wow. Yeah. 1820. And the consumption of what now? Sugar. Whew. Skyrocketed. The thing about sugar, you guys, do you remember when I did the presentation on food addiction? Did you watch it? If you haven't seen that presentation, you can find it in my website too, because I showed some research that shows that when you consume sugar, your brain thinks it's a drug. Your brain reacts the same way as if you were consuming a drug. What they call the pleasure pathways, you know what I mean? The reward pathways. I don't know if you've heard of these concepts. Dopamine. Have you heard of that one? Maybe. So the dopamine pathways, that when you consume a drug, you don't consume drugs, right? Of course not. But when people consume drugs, the dopamine pathways are stimulated and production goes really high. And that's what makes people get hooked on these substances. It turns out sugar does the same thing. It overstimulates the production of dopamine. And then it makes us want to repeat that behavior just like drugs do. And in fact, they've done that comparison with cocaine. And I showed you I showed you the study. I showed it to you so that you can look it up yourself. And remember how many times more addictive was sugar than cocaine? More addictive, remember? How many times? 100 pounds per year? Yeah. 100, yeah, look at that. 100 pounds. But even, okay, think about pizza. By the way, we're talking about food addiction right now. In that presentation about food addiction, I showed you the 20 most addictive foods. Remember? Some of you might not have watched that presentation. I invite you to watch it. Okay. It's kind of scary. All right. 20 most addictive foods. Number 1, pizza. Okay. I already kind of gave it up. Sorry. All right. But you still have other things you can watch there. Okay. So pizza. It's got the cheese. Super addictive. And you can find out why if you watch that presentation. But what it has that makes it addictive. Does pizza have sugar? You must think, no, of course not. It's not a sweet thing. It's not a sweet food. Does pizza have sugar? What do you think? Seems like a lot. It's in so much food. David, does pizza have sugar? Yes, it does. In the sauce. So you're right. It's in a lot of food. In fact, when I'm talking about that addictivity of sugar, it's in a lot of junk food that is not sweet, you guys. It's savory stuff. So yes, it's in a lot of food, but not just sweet food. So yes, you're right. Absolutely. Okay, let's move on because otherwise we're going to get stuck. All right. So, and look at this. The US is the country that probably eats the most meat in the world, unfortunately. We're talking about very concentrated calories as well. Okay, so these are all foods that are highly concentrated in calories. All right, so not just the US, as I said before, it's a phenomenon that's all over the world. I don't have to tell you these things. Obesity puts us at higher risk for tons of diseases. And unfortunately, the food industry knows that all they have to do is mix some sugar, some salt, and some fat in whatever product they're making, put some nice, shiny marketing in the front of the package, and voila. That's all they have to do. And make a new product every year. Just repackage it, put new colors, put new words, and voila. So yeah, you guys, white flour is practically like sugar. Honestly, white powders, think about it. White powders. Sugar is a white powder. Flour is a white powder. So yes, it's in the sauce, it's in the crust, it's in that white flour, you guys. Scary. All right, so these are empty calories. What does that mean? Empty calories. Guys, I don't know how many of you are old enough to remember that show called 600-Pound Life or something like that. 600-Pound Life. I didn't watch it until somebody mentioned it to me when I was like in Yuma, Arizona, giving some presentations. And this lady giving me a ride to church back and forth. She's like, "Have you ever watched that show, 600-Pound Life?" I was like, "No." She started telling me about it. So I watched it. I was horrified. It's like a horror movie. These people are eating 10,000 calories a day. 10,000. I couldn't believe it. I almost fell off my chair. Of course you have to eat that many calories to stay at 600 pounds. food, you can eat 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 calories a day and still be deficient in minerals, vitamins, phytochemicals, antioxidants. This is not food. These are products, mostly chemical products. This is not food. This is food-like products. Food-like products. You can be deficient of fiber for sure. By the way, now we know that fiber is crucial. I would call it essential. If you're not eating fiber, you're starving your microbiota. Every time you eat a food that does not have fiber, you're starving your microbiota. What happens? The microbiota is living in the colon. That's where the microbiota resides. The friendly bacteria that is crucial for your health. So when you start starving the microbiota, you know what it does? It starts eating the lining of your colon. And then it starts to make holes, let's say, that it can get through. Leaky gut. Have you heard of that? Leaky gut. It's because you're not eating fiber, you guys. You're eating this. You're fiber deficient, let alone vitamins and minerals. Does this have vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants and phytochemicals? Stuff is not food. Read the ingredients. Read the ingredients. If you can tell me what all of those ingredients are, you have a PhD in chemistry or something. If you don't know what those ingredients are, why are you putting in your body? You're putting unknown substances in your body. Why? I'm just saying. I get a little excited about that stuff, as you could tell. But I'm just saying, we're putting unknown things in our bodies. We don't know what we're putting in our bodies. Stuff is not food. If you don't know what that is, if you're reading this word and you don't know what it is, but it's inside your body, I'm just trying to make you think about it. Okay, that's all. Okay, now look at this. Look at this comparison, you guys. One simple little apple has 80 calories. You cut up that apple, you add flour and sugar, butter, make it into a pie, cut a piece of pie, put some ice cream on top, and all of a sudden it becomes apple pie a la mode. 480 calories. Do you think it makes you fuller? It satisfies you a ton more? 5 times more? That's why they call it junk. Yeah, because it's unknown stuff. It's basically trash. Junk is the same thing that's trash, right? It's like, it's not food, that's for sure. Thank you for that comment. Very good comment. Okay, take a little simple potato that people go, oh, too many carbs, it makes you fat, the potato. If you put it in the oven or boil it, it's still 120 calories, right? But what happens if you cut it really thin, slice it really thin, and dump it in a bunch of oil, in a vat of oil, deep fry it, take it out, put a bunch of salt. Yum! Now it's crunchy. Now it's irresistible. Yes. Because all that fat and salt and the carbs, oh, now it's irresistible. You see? You see? A combination. But now how many calories? That poor potato, so humble, was only 120, and you thought that would make you fat. The potatoes didn't do anything. It's the chips. That makes you fat. That's different. You see the difference? When it's processed, we ruin things. We ruin what God made, basically. Because the apple was fine. The apple has the fiber, the minerals, the vitamins, the fiber. It's beautiful the way God made it. It's fast food, by the way. All you have to do is go get it from a tree. Boom. You can eat it right away. The potato, no, you have to cook it. It's better. But cook it for what? 10 minutes, you boil it, it's done. It's got fiber, it's got vitamins, minerals, it's got everything. It's got a whole bunch of stuff. There's a guy who lived for a year just potatoes. They call it the Bud Man or something. Lost like 50 pounds or something like that. I don't recommend to do it forever. But the guy lived for 1 year to do it and proved that you can live just on potatoes for 1 year. He wasn't deficient on anything. He was fine. But don't ruin it. You add a bunch of oil and salt, sugar, butter. You ruin things. We ruin stuff when we process them. You see what I mean? And when we add the sugar, the fat, the salt, we make it into a drug. We make them into drugs that stimulate the brain the same as drugs. I'm not kidding. Watch that other presentation. I go into that a lot deeper, but basically it's the same reward area of the brain. And many people are saying, and in fact, there are numbers that show that a high percentage, not everybody, but maybe 60, 70% or so of people who have obesity might be actually addicted to food. Not everybody, but a large percentage, potentially. In fact, I even showed you this, this graph or this visualization of the brain. And I don't know if you remember, but the red means dopamine. And a person who is addicted has lost the dopamine receptors because of the overstimulation of the brain. At some point, the dopamine receptors have to be downregulated. The brain has to protect itself, basically. It puts a brake on the dopamine receptors to protect itself from the overstimulation. So it puts a brake, it lowers the dopamine receptors. So people who are addicted to drugs, for instance, cannot feel normal pleasure anymore unless they receive the drug. So you give them a fruit. They don't feel pleasure from fruit. They don't feel pleasure from normal things like hugging a friend or a baby or whatever. They don't feel pleasure from normal things that are pleasurable. Only the drugs gives them pleasure because look at their brain. So look at the normal in the top left. That's a normal brain with normal dopamine receptors. That's the red area. That's a normal person. So a normal person, they hug a friend, they feel a pleasure thing. Oh, hi friend, hey, good to see you. And they feel nice. But a person who has a cocaine addiction, top or bottom left, no dopamine receptor. The person's constantly looking for the drug. That's all they want. No dopamine receptors. They don't feel normal pleasure anymore unless they get that drug again. Same with the alcoholic, bottom right. And now look at the top right. Do you see the similarities here? These three brains that are lacking the red? Those are the commonalities of addiction. The lack of dopamine receptors. That's unfortunate. So again, that happens when people are consuming these highly processed foods that stimulate the brain. And so many people go on a keto diet. Is that the right solution? To go on a diet that tells you to eat, these high fat foods? Can that potentially be the right solution? It will it'll help you to lose weight, but long term, I don't necessarily agree that it's a good solution. In fact, when I was talking about the keto or intermittent fasting, I don't know if you remember, but we were talking about the intermittent fasting actually producing the effects, the beneficial effects of the keto diet without the long-term negative effects of the keto diet. So if you want to know more about that, I recommend you go to that presentation on fasting, because there are benefits that were actually known of fasting. And then it was kind of difficult to use fasting on little children, and it was needed though. So they invented the keto diet to mimic fasting, actually. It's very interesting. So I actually recommend you look at that. But we're going to talk about a little bit about the weight loss benefits of the keto diet in a little bit. But that's going to be as part of, I'm going to talk about really quick the 10 ways you can lose weight without the negative effects of a lot of these diets. Okay, so losing weight, gaining health instead of losing health. What do you think about that? Which one is better, to lose weight while losing your health as well, or lose weight while gaining health? I would think it's better to lose weight while gaining health instead of losing health. All right, so let's start with number one. Number one is to eat the only diet that has proven or been shown with very good research and evidence that can not only help you to lose the weight, but can also help you to both prevent or reverse the most important chronic diseases in our age. Heart disease, some of the cancers, some strokes, diabetes, even Alzheimer's disease. The whole food plant-based diet has been proven to be the one diet that helps you with almost all of those things. And what is a whole food plant-based diet? It's not the same as a vegan diet, by the way. I think I've said this many, many times. Vegan diet is defined as what you leave out. Whole food plant-based diet is defined by what you bring in. Two different things. What you leave out is basically, in the vegan diet, it's like all animal foods. But what are you eating? You could be eating junk. That's not what we're talking about here. When we talk about the whole food plant-based diets, well, we define it what we're actually eating, which is whole food plant-based. So somebody said here, lose weight and gain health. That's a much better choice. I agree with you. Yes, absolutely. All right. So what's whole food? Whole foods are foods that are not processed. Basically, all this stuff is processed, what we were talking about before. This is food-like products. What we want is whole foods, like the ones in this picture. Things you get from the earth, from a tree, like in their natural state. And like the other ones that are like ultra-processed foods. This stuff is not really food. All right. And then we said whole food plant-based. In other words, plants. Not things that come from a plant, like in a processing plant. Not that kind of plant. Actually, plant that comes, that has roots in, the soil. This is animal foods. They're not plants. They're animals. And so what's wrong with them? Well, here it is. Here's the thing. These foods don't have fiber. So remember what I said every time. What happens every time you eat something that doesn't have fiber? You starve what was that again? Microbiota. What's that again? Microbiota. That's a weird word. That's a newer word actually for the gut flora, the friendly bacteria So it's a fancier word now, they use that. So microbiota is basically the friendly bacteria that lives in your gut. And if you don't have the good bacteria, guess what's going to happen? It's kind of like when you don't water your lawn and it dies. If you have a lawn, that is, of course. If you have a lawn and you don't water it, it dies. What's going to grow instead? Weeds. Same in your gut. If you don't feed the good bacteria, they die. What grows instead? Bad bacteria. Do you really want that? I doubt it. So, somebody's laughing. I must have said something funny. Anyway, don't starve your good bacteria, because if you starve your good bacteria, you're going to get bad bacteria. That's not good. So, what's a good bacteria need to eat? Fiber and resistant starch. So anytime you eat any food that doesn't have fiber, your good bacteria gets nothing. Nada. Zero. Okay. How do we overcome cravings and addictions to processed foods? Excellent question. That's the question of the century. I'm not kidding. Yes, that's a really good question. So I talk a lot about this in the presentation of food addiction. So it's really difficult. So honestly, it's bottom line is abstinence, just like any drug. The two most important things. So there's been a lot of research on food addiction, okay? And there's different philosophies on what you need to do. Some people go mindful eating, but some people like, if you mindfully eat sugar, you're still going to be addicted to sugar. So I kind of agree with that. So I think it's kind of like a drug. You can't just be moderate with, heroin. You know what I mean? Honestly, you can do moderation with cocaine or alcohol if you're an alcoholic. So the best thing is to stay away from things that are addictive. So I am from that camp, from that philosophy, that the best thing is to completely stay away, abstinence. And the two most addictive things, according to research, are sugar and flour. Sugar and flour. There's other things, of course. So I showed you the 20 most addictive foods. And so they have a combination sugar and flour, but the combination sugar and flour and salt. And there's, like meat. A lot of meat products tend to be quite addictive. And cheese. Oh my goodness. I tell you why cheese is addictive. There's a component in cheese. Should I tell you? Should I spoil it for you? I'll just spoil it for you. Okay. If you eat cheese, okay, here's the thing, okay? I told you that you need a bunch of milk to make cheese. So when they coagulate the cheese, you get whey, right? And then you get the curdle part of it, which is the casein. So there's two proteins in milk. And the most important part, the bigger part, is the casein. That's the protein. And the other part that they use it for making protein powders, so they still get money out of it, right? So they make the protein powders, that's whey. With the casein, that's what they squish and make into cheese. Casein, that's the other protein. When you eat it and digest it, the casein, casein, when you digest that protein, it becomes another substance called casomorphine. Casomorphine. What did that sound to you like? Casomorphine. Casomorphine. Does it sound like something to you? Casomorphine. It's an opiate. It's a mild opiate, okay? It's not the same as morphine, obviously. It's a mild opiate. So of course it's gonna make you feel good. So of course you're gonna eat cheese and love it. Of course. Especially when it stretches, right? Of course. It's delicious. I'm not gonna deny it. Of course it's delicious. because it's got casomorphine. That's why. So I think it's best to stay away, honestly, if you want me to be honest. So that's step number one for any addiction is abstinence. The cravings are going to come back, just like with any addictive substance. I mean, alcoholics will tell you, any addicted person will tell you the cravings will come back. You have to ride them out. You have to crowd out that, those foods with good foods. And we're going to talk about more about, what you can do to lower the sort of cravings. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about more a little about that. So so here we have some other more things here. All right, so glucose manager straight from the garden. Straight from the garden. Straight from the garden. That's a good one. All right, let's see. Sugar, flour, salt, and cheese need digestive enzymes. People want real solutions. Abstinence isn't for everyone. Yes. Now, it is difficult. It is difficult. So there's some harm reduction you can do. And it is true that some people are okay with not necessarily doing abstinence. Some people can do sort of harm reduction. And some people, if they do harm reduction, they basically go back to the addictive substance, basically. So everybody's a little different. You are correct about that. So it depends on the person. So just tell people on autopsy the adrenals are deformed after drinking coffee, and cheese needs to be cured for past 1 year to release the chemical. Yes, so all of these substances, I say caffeine also, of course, it's addictive. Absolutely, it's addictive. You know that. If you drink 2 cups of coffee for 5 years and you stop drinking it cold turkey, what's going to happen? It's going to give you headaches. Why? Because your body has become dependent. So it's also a drug in a way. It does cause dependence. Absolutely. Not every addiction is inherently bad. Okay. We're going to maybe disagree a little bit on that. Some things feel good because they're actually good. They're very addicted to what. Okay, well, it depends. So it depends on what you consider addictive. So it depends on the level of stimulation, maybe, of the reward pathways. So some things that feel good naturally also stimulate the reward pathways. So if you go back to my lecture on what I say it's addictive and what's natural stimulation of the reward pathways. So yeah, some things feel good because they stimulate the dopamine, and some things become addictive. What I say it's addictive, or what my definition of addictiveness is, when overstimulation of the dopamine production. And so those substances tend to be a lot more than just maybe normal things. And people can become addicted maybe to exercise, for instance, things like that, because of the endorphins and things like that. So people can become addicted to good things potentially. That is true. It's a little bit more of the exception rather than the rule, but there's always an exception. So, but you're right. Things that produce pleasure is normal. In fact, I talk about that in the lecture, because the word Eden, like as in the Garden of Eden, means pleasure, as in God made us for pleasure, but we abuse it, and that's when it becomes bad, unfortunately. All people need digestive support. I agree with that. Yes. And yes, I agree, certain things are certainly bad to be addicted. Yes. However, some things feel good, therefore don't eat it as bad. It is bad logic. Well, it depends on what you're eating. So if it feels good and it harms you, then maybe you should think about that. If it feels good and it doesn't harm you, then it's okay. So it depends on what we're talking about, right? So I'm not addicted to water or air. Water, air is not bad. Okay. And, but yeah, I agree that cheese can be addictive. People can overeat it. The reasons casomorphins are addicted is because babies. So that's a very good point. So the casein is also present in human milk. Of course, the human milk is a lot lower. So it's about 20% in human milk and about 80% in cow's milk. So it's a lot different in amount. So you're absolutely right. That's what causes the bonding between the mother and the child. So it has a purpose. Absolutely, it has a purpose. But when we eat the cheese, the amount is much different than what the baby's getting from the mother. So you have a really good point on that. So I'm not sure what addictions are easily handled with AOHUB. You might have to define that for me, please. All right, so let's move on, or else we're going to stay here forever. So we defined what a whole food plant-based diet is, and it would look like this. Your plate will look like this, whole food plant-based. Okay, so that's your number one. Now, number two, we were talking about cravings. So I'm going to tell you really quick about intermittent fasting or early time restricted eating, because there's a lot of different types of intermittent fasting. I talk about this in that presentation. So if you want all the details, go to that presentation, because I'm going to go through this fast right now because I already talked about it. So if you want to really, really know more about this in detail, please go to that presentation. But early time restricted eating is a type of intermittent fasting. They're not all the same. This type of intermittent fasting means you eat earlier in the day. It's not the kind where you skip breakfast at eating later. That's not what I mean. This kind of intermittent fasting has shown, look, please look at the screen. Not all the types of intermittent fasting do this. Are you looking? They did this study. They took the control group that was not fasting. They were eating 12 hours a day and 12 hours not eating. The other group was doing what I just showed you, eating from 8 to 2 p.m. And the rest of the day, they were not eating anymore. And look at what happened. The control group is the white bar, and the group that was fasting, only eating in the morning until 2 p.m., that's the gray bar. Look at what it says. Desire to eat, all the way in the left. In the morning and then in the evening. The people who were fasting had less desire to eat in the evening. When they were not eating, they had less desire to eat. Capacity to eat. Right here. The people who were fasting had less capacity to eat in the evening compared to the people who were eating in the evening, even though they were fasting. So I explain a little bit more about this in the presentation. It's basically doing intermittent fasting, this kind only though. It regulates your appetite hormones, including GLP-1. It regulates your appetite hormones, including GLP-1. It lowers your appetite. I show all the science in that presentation. I don't have time to go over it here. But doing this kind of intermittent fasting lowers your appetite. And you have less appetite in the evening. Okay, I'm getting a lot of things. So you're not addicted to air. Try and go in 5 minutes without. Okay, what you need air. Okay, do you see what I mean? It's ironic to put X over meat and eggs. When you emit flour and sugar are the most addicted. So yes, but I'm not talking about meat and flour or meat and eggs for addictiveness. I'm talking about meat and eggs for health reasons and for weight loss reasons, but mostly health reasons. oxalates in the kidneys and stone only if you eat excessive amounts of spinach. You would, almonds not really, because you eat only an ounce a day, and spinach you would need to eat extreme amounts, and then you would need to worry about oxalates, and maybe if you have a lot of problems with your kidneys. But most people don't have to worry about oxalates unless they're eating extreme amounts of spinach. Just take your morning pH. The plate looks good, but you're getting the nutrients you to scan before eating. So just check your first morning urine pH. The plate looks good, but you're getting the nutrients you to scan before eating. I'm not sure that I understand that. Okay, let's leave it. Okay, maybe you're talking to somebody else, not here. Kidney stones, but personally, I'd avoid almonds and spinach unless cooked. Okay, so yeah, if you have kidney stones, make sure you're not eating extreme amounts, okay, of spinach. You're right about that. Okay. Okay, I think you're talking to another person, but in general, okay. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so here are the benefits. Here are the benefits of the intermittent fasting. Look at them. It lowers your insulin after eating because your insulin sensitivity is better, beta cell function is better, your blood pressure comes down, your oxidative stress is better, and your appetite in the evening goes down. So there's an old adage, remember this one? Eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, dinner like a pauper. It's a true statement. All right. Number 3 is make sure that half of your plates are vegetables. Now we're talking about that balance. Because if you just filled your plate with rice and potatoes and pasta or whatever, and now there's no balance here. So make sure you fill up your plate with those low calorie density foods. So look at calorie density, okay? This is the calorie density chart. Oil, all the way on the left, is the food with the most calorie density. This is from Forks Over Knives, by the way. I highly recommend this website. Oil is the food with the most calorie density. So 500 calories of oil fill up hardly any of your stomach. Cheese, high calorie density, fill up very little. Meat, a tiny little bit more. Potatoes and bean, 3/4. And fruits and vegetables, almost the whole thing. So foods that are low in calorie density will fill up your stomach almost entirely because they're low in calorie density. Look at here. Vegetables, all the way in the left, 100 calories per pound. Fruits, 200 calories per pound. Plant foods, 500 calories per pound. All the way over here on the right, oil and fat, 4,000 calories per pound. You see the difference? It's a huge difference. Huge difference. So try to concentrate on eating a lot of those things all the way in the left. All the fruits and vegetables, not only fruits and vegetables, obviously, but a lot of it, they provide the bulk and the fiber. That's why I always say, number 4, eat a salad every single day, if you can. Green salad. This is your fiber, the food for your microbiota. Low density, calorie density, bulk. So cut up your veggies on Sunday or whatever day you have free. Prep them, keep them in your fridge, make your homemade dressing, plant-based for the week. That way, every day you have your little salad. Will smoothies still fill you up? Not the same, because now the fiber is going to be sort of pre-broken, pre-digested, if you will. It'll still help, but it's not the same. This is the best. And smoothie would be best, next best. Okay, calorie density is a huge miss. Calorie density is mostly about water and fiber content. This does not control how much leptin, signaling you have. That is true, but it helps to provide the bulk. And also because you're getting the micronutrients from here. This is your vitamin and minerals and antioxidants and phytochemicals. Carbs increase hunger compared to fat and protein? Okay. I would say when we put our people, so I do this for a living, and we give people a whole food plant-based diet, and people eat whole carbs with fiber, and they eat this kind of food as well, and they do not have more hunger. They have less hunger. Of course, they do not eat only this. They also eat a little bit of fat, a little bit of protein. We don't take away the fat and the protein. It's a combination. This is not the only thing they're going to eat. So we do add dressings made with cashews, for instance. That is required for the absorption of the fat-soluble vitamins in the salad. So I always say, make your dressing for the salad at home, like made out of cashew. So it's not a fat-free diet. Not a fat-free diet. So that will help with the satiety as well. But carbs do not increase hunger. They actually lower hunger. I can show you all kinds of the studies for that. So this is Dr. Furman's food pyramid based on his principles of the equation nutrition or health equals nutrient over calories. And at least 90% of the daily diet should be comprised of the whole food plant-based diet. And people lose weight naturally this way. If I work at 7 a.m., that's a very good question. See, if I work at 7 a.m., should I eat before work like at 6 or wait until later? It just depends on what your schedule is. It depends on what time is your break, and whether you can eat more or less between maybe no more than 2 hours, hopefully after you get up. So because otherwise there's so much data on skipping breakfast. And you know what sumo wrestlers do to gain weight? I was just reading about this 2 days ago. One of the techniques sumo wrestlers do to gain weight is skip breakfast and eat late at night. This is a strategy sumo wrestlers do to gain weight. So skipping breakfast is a strategy for gaining weight. Meats also have vitamins and minerals, antioxidants, phytochemicals, but not nearly as much as fruits and vegetables, especially phytochemicals. Phyto means plant. So meat does not have phytochemicals by definition. And with your current argument, this is compared to what their standard diet. I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure what your question is, but phytochemicals by definition are only in plants, by definition. All right. And in fact, now that you're saying that, let me show you this chart. So 100 calories, okay? And what you're seeing are 4 different kinds of food. So we have 100. In fact, let me make it bigger so that you can see it better. Okay, 100 calories of broccoli, steak, romaine lettuce, and kale. And then we're comparing protein, calcium, iron, magnesium, potassium, fiber, phytochemicals. Like I said, phytochemicals by definition are only found in plants. Antioxidants, folate, vitamin B2, niacin, zinc, vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin E, cholesterol, and saturated fat. Okay. The only 2 things, okay, let's start from the very top. What has more protein? 100 calories of broccoli, steak, romaine lettuce, or kale? Look at it very carefully. Which has more protein per calorie? 100 calories of protein, steak, romaine lettuce, or kale? Which one has more protein? Just look at it. This is per calorie, not per weight. Next, which one has more calcium? And you can see, I'm just going to say it so people who are maybe listening, the one that wins here per calorie is broccoli. Broccoli has the most protein per calorie at 11 grams. Steak has 6, romaine lettuce has 7, and kale has 7. Okay, next is calcium. Which has more calcium per calorie? Broccoli, steak, romaine lettuce, or kale? Kale has 257 milligrams of calcium per 100 calories. Steak has 2. Okay, next, iron. People tell you you need red meat for the iron. Okay, let's look at iron. Which one has more iron per 100 calories? Broccoli, steak, romaine lettuce, or kale? Which one has the most amount of iron? Look at it. 2.2 milligrams for the broccoli, 0.8 milligrams for the steak, 5.7 milligrams for romaine lettuce. Now, you're going to have to eat a big salad every day if you want that much. But you can vary. I don't recommend eating the same thing every day, okay? One day your broccoli, the next day your romaine lettuce, next day your kale, then eat your collard greens. I mean, eat different things because you're going to get different things every day, okay? Variety is best. Okay, magnesium. Which one has most magnesium? You can see it right there. Romaine lettuce. Which one has most potassium? Lettuce, but kale is very close. Next, fiber. Steak has 0. As we said, the animal foods have none. Phytochemicals, none. None. By definition, antioxidants, the steak has none. Folate, of course, the plants will have a lot more, and you can go down the line. The only thing that cholesterol that the steak will win will be cholesterol and saturated fat. That the steak will have more, absolutely, for sure, absolutely. So you can see these are. I didn't make these up. But somebody is not agreeing. The chart is wrong because the steak has 0 phytochemicals. So you can look up the word phyto. The word phyto is a Latin word that means plant. The word phyto means plant. So it's impossible for steaks to have phytochemicals because the steak is not a plant. So by definition, a steak will not have phytochemicals because it's defined as chemicals only found in plants. So it's impossible for a steak to have phytochemicals. I'm sorry, but that's just the definition. Plants could have vitamin A because they have beta carotene. So that's what it means here. It's the beta carotene. So yes, you're right. It's beta carotene. That's what it has. So you eat the beta carotene, gets converted to vitamin A. So that's what it is. Yes, you do need vitamin C for good iron uptake. Absolutely. Yes, you do. You do. All right. So let's move on. Okay. Now, what I recommend is to eat grains in their intact form rather than flour, because this way you get the best quality of the fiber. Flour, for people who are a little bit addicted to food, can be problematic. So if you can eat the flours intact, that's better. And of course, if they're whole grain, that's best. Not all whole grains are equal. Eating a granola bar is not the same as eating a bowl of oats. Eating, cold cereal is not the same as eating wheat berries. Just saying. Okay. So here we go. Today's a lot of comments. So yes, I know the word root means plant. It actually goes into meat because cow eats grass. There's might be traces, but very, very little. So I don't think there's enough to really make a difference. There might be some traces in some of the maybe grass-fed, but most people don't eat that much because it's very expensive. So traces at the most. Let's see what else. Okay. Let's see. Oops. No, I can't get it. All right. Let me see. Okay, here we go. What's a good combination? Good combination of, okay, let's see. Do you want okay, what good combination? Okay, so anything that has like vegetables are very good source of vitamin C. So for instance, the beans with vegetables with salad, those are very good. Beans with salad, like lentils and vegetables, and you serve them with a salad. Those are very good combinations. I don't know if you think you have authority on this combination. One simple Google search debunks. Okay, I have some degrees on this. I have been doing this for 20 years. Now you're changing your goalposts on phytochemicals. Like I said, you don't get enough phytochemicals from traces. You need to eat fruits and vegetables. So I don't. Also, because the meat is a very excellent source of, like I said, saturated fat and cholesterol. So I don't agree with eating it. And you don't get any of the fiber. So, okay, you were just saying the definition. By definition, like I said, phytochemical, the source is plants. So I still stand by that. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I agree with that. You're right. If you have oat allergies, what can you use? Very good question. You can use other grains, such as, in fact, let me see. Do I have grains? Okay, whole grains. I do have another. I'm going to have another slide coming up of whole grains. So let's get to that in a minute. So intact grains are best. So of course, changes are going to be progressive. If you're going to change from white bread to whole grain bread, that's a good change. And then to maybe like some kind of maybe seed, bring a bread with a lot of seeds, or sprouted. Sprout is best. Okay, look at this one. Okay, I was going to say intact grains are the best. This one. You see this hierarchy? Intact, that would be the top. And then you go down. Cut, like steel cut, that would be the next one down. Rolled, like your rolled oats. They also have like rolled barley and other similar. Shredded whole grains, ground, and then flaked. And the last one in quality is the puffed. Puffed whole grains would be the lower quality. Okay, this one shows you the wall, the wall of the cell of the plants. That's the fiber. And the stuff inside is what gets spilled out when you break that wall. In other words, when you mill the grain. So when you mill the grain, you spill out the contents. That's why it elevates your blood sugar faster. So when you eat wheat berries, that doesn't happen. Instead, when you eat bread, it does happen. So that's why the intact, like when you eat wheat berries instead of wheat bread, is way better, because you're not breaking the wall. You keep that content inside, and your stomach cannot do the same as the mill, let's say, to break up the contents of the wall like this. So that's why you don't elevate the blood sugar as much. All right, here are the whole grains. So oatmeal is one, but we have the wheat berries, we have the quinoa, brown rice, buckwheat, corn, barley, amaranth. I can't read that one, it's too small. Let me see if I can read it here. Kaniwa, I actually am not familiar with that one. Freaky, not familiar with that one either. Wild rice, triticale. Sorghum, I am familiar with that one. Bulgur, black rice, spelt. There's so many. Actually, I tried teff the other day. No, in fact, I tried it like last year. Delicious. Ethiopian. Oh my goodness, that's delicious. All right. Okay, number 6, drink a lot of water. 1 or 2 glasses. It's been shown that if you drink a lot of 1 or 2 glasses on an empty stomach, and in between meals, it actually elevates the metabolic rate, you guys. It increases metabolism and reduces calorie intake. Water consumption increases weight loss during a hypocaloric diet. It was done in an intervention in middle-aged and older adults. And that was published in the journal Obesity. So if you drink the water before, if you are interested in losing weight, you don't have to do this. Only if you're interested in increasing your metabolism and reducing calorie intake. Otherwise, drink it at whatever time you want. But it is important to drink water throughout the day for sure. Now, if you do it before breakfast, it does increase your metabolism and it does reduce food consumption. Just FYI. Okay, next. If you want to, okay, so this is, pay attention to this, okay? What's the best time to, people ask me this all the time. What is the best time to exercise? It depends. If you are not diabetic and you want to lose weight, the best time to exercise is before breakfast. If you want, don't have to, but if you want, if you exercise before breakfast, what happens? You have hopefully fasted throughout the night. Obviously, if you've been eating at night, you're not fasted. But if you have fasted throughout the night, especially if you ate somewhat early, then that's the ideal. If you ate an early dinner or no dinner, you are fasted in the morning. Therefore, you go for a walk, you're burning fat as opposed to sugars. You're burning fat. That's excellent if you want to lose weight, all right? If you're diabetic, though, the best time to exercise is after meals. Why? Because your blood sugar goes up after eating. And if you go for that walk right after eating, you avoid that peak sugar. So you go for a walk right away, and the peak sugar is not quite as high. In fact, it is recommended that you go for a walk, instead of going for like a long walk, 1 hour, 1 hour and a half or whatever, split it into 3 if you can. If you eat 3 times a day, split it into 3. So go for a 10, 15, 20-minute walk after each meal. It is super extraordinarily effective in reducing your sugar throughout the day. So that is the absolute most recommended, shown by research to work the best. Okay, here's another tip. If you want, this is totally optional. Have you heard of HIIT, high intensity interval training? This is another form of cardio, but it burns about 30% more fat than regular cardio. So if you go for a walk, steady state, you're going to burn whatever. It depends on how many miles. Let's say 1 mile, 100 calories. But if you do this instead, if you go for a walk, warm up for 5 minutes, and then you walk as fast as you can for 1 minute, as fast as you can. Then the next 30 seconds or 1 minute, it's up to you, slow down to regular rate. All right, regular walk, regular rate. Then for another minute or 30 seconds, however long you want this, you can adapt this to your own liking. Go as fast as you can again. And so you repeat this cycle of do it super fast and then back to regular. Super fast, back to your regular. You do that for 20 minutes. That's the high intensity interval training. Only 20 minutes. And then the last 5 is a cool down. So warm up, 20 minutes of HIIT and 5 minutes of cool down. 30 minutes total. It burns 30% more fat than if you had done the 30-minute steady state. Optional, but that's what it does. Can you take a walk before breakfast and after meals when you're diabetic? Technically, yes. But if you are on insulin, you have to be mindful, careful that your sugars don't go down too much. That's the only thing that I would be careful with, if you are on insulin especially. So I would be careful with that. So it depends on you. It depends on your diet. You only know yourself. So if you have any risk of your sugars going too low, don't do it. It's better to go after breakfast. But if you're, very controlled, if you're fine, it's up to you. But take something with you just in case. Like take some I don't know, fruit or juice or something. Take something with you in case you start feeling, something maybe sweaty or dizzy. Take something with you. That's what I would do. It's like playing a sport. It's like playing a sport. You got it. Very good. Very good. Okay. Next. This is super important. This is key. Key. Incorporate strength training. Most people forget about this. Think about you guys. Our ancestors did this as part of their daily living, okay? Think about 200 years ago. People lived, they grew their own food, like they were doing their own agriculture. They were growing their own food back then, okay? They were cutting wood. They were carrying their own stuff. They had much more muscle. They walked. I mean, they were just more active than us that are sitting around doing nothing, all right? So if you go on a diet and lose a lot of weight and you're not doing this, this is going to happen, okay? Look at this right now. Healthy, unhealthy. Losing weight without doing resistance training is unhealthy, the one on the right. And look at the body composition. Meaning, okay, what you're seeing right there, the insides basically, that's body composition. Unhealthy body composition is too much of the yellow and too little of the red. What does that mean? Too much fat, too little muscle. But here's the thing, okay? What this is showing us is that this person in the middle lost weight in two different ways. Essentially, they're showing us two different ways to lose weight. You can lose weight unhealthy or healthy. The person could be the same weight, but have two different body composition. So you can be the same weight and have this amount of fat or that amount of fat. And you wouldn't know unless you did a DEXA scan or some other thing. What I'm saying is, how would you know unless you measured it? So you can be normal BMI and be skinny fat or fat skinny, as I call them. You can be skinny fat. You can be 22 BMI and have the body composition of an obese person. Did you know? You can be normal weight and have the body composition of an obese person and have the exact same health risks. Look at this picture. Picture on the right, picture on the left says me at 130 pounds. Picture on the right says me at 130 pounds. Is the same person. Looks radically different though. BMI is not the most important measure because you're not taking into account body composition. Because muscle is very dense. It's heavy actually. And fat is not as dense. It's not as heavy. So when you're not doing resistance training, unfortunately, you might be losing a lot of muscle, and that's gonna lower the metabolism. That's what happened with a lot of people. I don't know if you're old as me. I am old, but some of you might be old as me. Do you remember The Biggest Loser, the show? Biggest Loser. People lost 100 pounds, 150 pounds, more, whatever. A lot of those people gained all the way back and more. And some researchers went and actually measured their metabolism, their metabolic rate. Those people were barely eating like 1,000 calories a day and still gaining weight. Why? because their metabolic rate was so low, they were like burning 800 calories a day, those people. So if they ate 1,200 calories a day, that's like starvation, they still gain weight. So if we're not doing resistant exercise, we're going to be losing a lot of muscle. And muscle is denser, more compact than fat. And if we lose the muscle, our metabolism's going to go down, and we're going to be needing less and less calories. And then when we start eating normal again, the weight comes back faster than you lost it. That's a problem. Look at this lady. You know how old she is? What are good resistance exercises? There's so many. You can do like this lady. She's probably lifting like 5 pounds here. You don't have to. You can use like a can of beans at home or a water bottle. Bands, elastic bands, or you can just use your weight, your own weight. You can use sit-ups. You can use squats at home against the wall. You can do a lot of things with just your own body, as long as you're doing some kind of strengthening exercise. So, in fact, I think you can do a search. I don't have it with me right here, but I think you can do a search online. And the state of California has like a free PDF. It's called Power Up in 10. Power Up in 10. And it's like a family. I have it coming up. Okay, I have it coming up. Sorry, I'll show it to you in a minute. Let me just show you one more slide. This lady was, okay, sorry. This lady is 101. 101. She's from Loma Linda. She's one of those, well, okay. She was, this picture was taken in 2005. She was 101 in this picture. She got up in the morning and did boom, 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 boom. That's why she was so healthy. Okay, this is the fountain of youth, you guys. Look at the ages. Look at what age they started. 43, 61 now, 75. Okay, this lady that's 75 in that picture, now she's like 80 something. This picture is kind of old. So look up her name, Ernestine Shepherd. These ladies look amazing. Why do you think they look amazing? Because they exercise. It makes you look super young. Okay, this is the one I was telling you. It's free. Power Up in 10. Power Up in 10. It's from the state of California. It's free. It's a PDF. You can download it. And it shows you how to do very simple resistance training at home. You can do it with or without weights. It's super easy. It's like extremely easy to do. It's for beginners. And then you can start increasing the weight, of course. You know, so you need to be increasing the weight to be able to build more muscle. Or here's another option for those of you who like to be outdoors. Have you seen this before? Triceps, forearms, biceps, chest, abs, I don't know, shoulders. Okay, there's another way to work out in your garden. The original full body workout, you guys. I think this is pretty cool. But you have to do it every day, of course. It's not going to work out if you only do it like in the summer for 2 weeks. All right. Number 10, last one, proper sleep. Did you know that there's studies that people who get 6 hours or less is associated with weight gain and diabetes and increased appetite, because it messes up your hormones. Remember the hormones that we saw with the fasting that are regulated in a good way? It lowers your appetite. With the fasting, intermittent fasting, sleep, as in like lack of sleep, does the exact opposite. It makes you hungrier if you're not getting at least 7 hours. It makes you hungrier, you guys. Not getting sleep. and it's associated with weight gain. So getting sleep is absolutely necessary for losing weight. I'm telling you guys. So, bottom line, God has a plan for you to succeed. And it's God's plan. And it's based on God's diet. I believe in God's diet because it's the one in the Bible. To the law and the testimony. That's how you know it's true. That's how I know it's true. I invite you to use the same rule. To the law and the testimony. It's the one from the very beginning. It's the original diet. That's how I know it's the right diet. It's the one given by God to man at the very beginning, at creation. That's when everything was perfect. So this is the perfect diet by definition. That's my belief. It says, see, I have given you every herb. Other versions says, I have given you every plant that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you, it shall be for food. That's the original diet given to us by God. First page of the Bible, you guys. First book, first page, first chapter. So that's God's plan for humanity. So, whether you eat or drink or whether you do or whatever you do all to the glory of God. And I believe that when I put these foods in my body, I can glorify God in my body. If I put all the other dead carcasses in my body, I don't think that glorifies God in my body. So thank you so much. Sorry for going a little bit too long. There was a lot of comments today, but blessings to you. Thank you for being here, and you are very, very welcome. And yes, praise God for giving us his plan. His plan, much better than any other plan, I think, is God's plan. So again, here's my website, you guys. You can contact me through there. And feel free to download the 10-day challenge. Don't forget, it's free. 10-day challenge. Try it out. There's recipes and there's menu. And yummy recipes. Even a banana split. Breakfast banana split, by the way. And don't forget that Jesus said, I have come so that they may have life, and that they may have life, and that they may have it more abundantly. That's what God wants for you, abundant life. So you are welcome. Thank you for being here tonight. And we'll see you soon in 2 weeks. And we'll have another very interesting topic, hopefully. And if you have any questions, send them to me as well. So if there's any interesting topics that come out of that, I'll be sure to try to include it as well. So let's finish with a word of prayer. Thank you, Father, for another True Health Tuesday, and thank you for giving us your message, your word, that we know it's truth, and help us, Lord, to incorporate it into our lives, that we may glorify you in our bodies, that is the temple of your Spirit. Help us, Lord, to always remain in the truth and always remember what you have done for us and the message you have given us, so that we can always take it to other people, live it in our lives, and help us to tell other people about it, so that if they are suffering from diseases, illnesses, that they may also learn about how you have brought us health and healing through this message. Please be with us the rest of tonight and the rest of this week. And I ask you for a blessing for everybody who is connected and who will be watching this presentation later. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Thank you again. Good night, everyone. And thank you for connecting. God bless you, and see you soon in 2 weeks.